Well, hello, busy professionals, and welcome back to episode 3 of Anticipating the Workplace New Normal Post-COVID-19. This episode 3 will be comprised of 3 short videos, video A, B, and C. This is 3A. So part 1. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gretchen Asher, and I have been a change management consultant to Fortune 500 companies for nearly 3 decades. Yikes. And this whole COVID-19 pandemic situation and corporate response is clearly going to be, and will continue to be one of the biggest change management challengers for employers and employees. And over the last few weeks, I decided to dig deep into the research companies, the research organizations, to find out what do they think, what do they see that will be coming trends as we begin to loosen up restrictions. I know a lot of states, this is May 2nd, 2020, and a lot of states are still pretty much on lockdown. And there is a lot of talk about loosening restrictions, and hopefully we can do that safely soon. And this is going to be a big challenge, because this will, I think, and researchers also seem to think, this COVID-19 situation will dramatically and forever change the workplace environment. So we need to be thinking about, what does that mean for our companies, our organizations, and our employees. And hopefully everyone is starting to plan now. If you haven't been planning already, it would be a really good idea to do that. And hopefully some of this information that I'm sharing with you, because it is fantastic information, will help inform executives and leaders in companies to really put together, what does your post-COVID-19 workplace strategy look like? And from everything that I've been reading and studying, the trend is going to go heavy and faster than it already has been into employees being offered opportunities to work remotely, either full-time or certainly several days a week, and then be in the office several days a week. So in episode 3, 3 videos coming, this is first one, where we're going to take a look at productivity from a couple different lenses, because that is important. When we shift our working model, we need to make sure that our employees are productive and we are all moving everything forward for the business. So we have some very interesting stats here about productivity, and part of this will compare and contrast remote workers versus on-site workers, because sometimes we just need things to measure against. And I want to go through some information from Owl Labs. This is from their State of Work survey report for 2019, and what they were talking about in 2019 around productivity, remote workers and on-site workers. So this is very interesting, and listen carefully, because you might get bits of ammunition if you're actually putting together a workplace strategy post-COVID-19 to present to your executive team. There's some very interesting insights here that may give you some good ammunition for your business case on this. So diving in, and I have my notes in front of me because I don't want to get any of the statistics confused and misquote. So what Owl Labs discovered when they surveyed workers, both remote workers and on-site workers, that what they discovered was the stereotype that remote workers work fewer hours certainly is a misnomer nowadays based on the survey results they compiled for the 2019 year. But what indeed it showed was that 43% more remote workers were working longer hours than on-site workers. Okay, so that kind of makes sense, right? Because when you go into the office, you've got an 8-hour schedule or 4 10-hour days, whatever. So, and those hours tend to be contiguous. This is super, super interesting. What on-site workers say, on-site workers, they're working longer hours because they feel they have to. It's required. So on-site workers say they're working longer hours because it's required. Now, this is really interesting. Now, remote workers are saying they're working longer hours because they enjoy what they do. Because they enjoy what they do. Now, that's interesting. I wonder if that is, I think there are several contributing factors to that, even though Owl Labs didn't say, I'm just throwing in my 2 cents, that remote workers are working longer hours because it's more enjoyable. I think contributing factors from what I've seen around all my work with culture change is that it gives people a feeling of empowerment. It makes them feel trusted, that they can work on their own, less stress of a commute, not having a commute so many times during the day. I think it's the psychological effect of the perception of being trusted, of being having people have confidence in you, having the flexibility, having choice. That's very, very interesting. Now, to add on top of that, 72% of remote workers and on-site workers both said each group feels like they're working about the appropriate hours for them. So isn't that interesting? Remote workers actually feel that working more than 40 hours a week is an appropriate amount of hours to work a week. And on-site workers who don't work longer hours are saying that's appropriate as well. The question was asked to both remote workers and on-site workers. Specifically, why are they working more than 40 hours a week? Okay, this is really interesting. One answer, to support their team. Remote workers said that answer, 53% of remote workers said to support their team. 45% of on-site workers said to support their team. Interesting. You would think that remote workers, there is a stronger disconnect working remotely. There's not as much face time together for a team, yet 53% of remote workers said they work longer than 40 hours to support their team. 45% of on-site workers said that. Super interesting. Okay, here is the answer. Because it's required of them, because it's required. Remote workers answered, 38% of remote workers thought they work longer hours because it's required. Compared to on-site workers, excuse me, 40% of on-site workers said they work longer hours because it's required of them. Okay, next reason why on-site and remote workers are working more than 40 hours a week. Because they enjoy what they do. Because they enjoy what they do. 38% no, sorry, 40% remote workers say they work longer than 40 hours a week because they enjoy what they do, compared to only 17% of on-site workers said they work longer than 40 hours because they enjoy what they do. Now, is there a difference? Do people have more job satisfaction working remotely, or at least part of the time, than on-site? Very interesting. This stuff is very interesting. Next, why do they work more than 40 hours per week? Because it's required. 38% of remote workers said they work more than 40 hours a week because it's required. And 40% of on-site workers said they work more than 40 hours a week because it's required. So that's pretty close. These are some curious and interesting data points, don't you think? It just kind of makes you want to go, wouldn't it be interesting if you knew this information about your employees who work on site and who work remotely? Very, very interesting. I hope this has given you some good ammunition if you are putting together a business case to allow a better strategy for remote work for your company as we hopefully transition out of stay home, stay healthy orders. So hopefully this gave you some good ammunition there. This is all for episode 1, part 1 or part A. And coming next in part B and part C, we're going to look at what the data tells us about working from home, how it impacts unscheduled absences. Super good, super interesting. And then the third one, we're going to look at what executives say from companies that already have a work from home strategy and what they say about productivity. It's also very interesting. As usual, I would love to answer any questions you might have. Just hit me in the description box below. There's information on how to reach me. I'd be happy to chat with anyone on the phone and help you out if I can. So until next time, stay safe, everybody. I am the Change Whisperer.